The rain didn't stop, not even for a second. He stood alone in front of her grave, billionaire CEO, powerful, untouchable, now completely broken. His hand trembled as he traced her name on the cold stone. "I built everything for you," he whispered, "and you left me in a world I don't belong to anymore." Behind him, the world felt empty, until footsteps broke the silence. A woman stopped behind him, a single mom, struggling, quiet, unknown. "Sir," she said softly, "I don't think the dead are the only ones who need help healing." He turned slowly, and in that moment, neither of them knew it yet, but everything was about to change forever. The rain was still falling when Ethan Carter arrived, cold, relentless, unforgiving. It matched the way his life had felt for the past year, empty. He stood in front of the marble grave, hands shoved deep inside his black coat pockets, staring at the name carved into stone like it might suddenly change if he looked long enough. Isabella Carter, his wife, the woman who once turned silence into home. Now she was just a name, a date, a memory that refused to fade. Ethan slowly lowered himself to one knee, ignoring how the wet ground soaked through his trousers. For a billionaire CEO, people expected power, control, emotionless decisions. But here, there was none of that. Only a man breaking in silence. "I told you." His voice cracked as he spoke to the stone. "I told you I would fix everything." His jaw tightened. His fingers brushed over the engraved letters, "But you didn't wait." A long silence followed. Only rain answered him. Behind him, the cemetery stretched out empty and cold. Black iron gates, rows of forgotten names, wind moving through dead trees. No one came here often, except him, every week. Same time, same pain. Ethan exhaled slowly, like breathing itself had become a task. "I built Carter Industries for you," he whispered. "I made it everything you wanted it to be." A bitter laugh escaped him. "And now I don't even know why I still run it." A gust of wind passed through the cemetery. For a second, it felt like something was watching him, judging him. He stood slowly, wiping rain from his face, refusing to let the emotion take over completely. Because Ethan Carter didn't break in public, ever, not even here. But as he turned to leave, he noticed her, a woman standing near the gate, still, quiet, holding a small child close to her side, a single mother. Her clothes were simple, worn by life, not luxury. Her hair tied back loosely, as if she had more important things to care about than appearance. And yet, she wasn't looking at him like everyone else did. No fear, no admiration, no curiosity about the billionaire standing in the rain. She was looking at the grave, then at him, like she understood something she wasn't supposed to. Ethan frowned slightly. People didn't usually come here at this hour, especially not strangers. The woman hesitated for a moment, then slowly stepped forward. Her voice was soft when she finally spoke. "Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt." Ethan didn't respond immediately, just watched her, waiting. She shifted her child slightly on her hip, steadying him. "I just come here sometimes," she continued. "Not this grave, just here." A pause. Then she looked directly at him. "And I've seen you before." That caught him off guard. Ethan's expression hardened slightly. "You've been watching me." She quickly shook her head. No, I didn't mean it like that." Her eyes lowered briefly, respectful but not afraid. "I meant, I've seen you here, from a distance. You always look like you're trying to fix something that can't be fixed." Silence hit between them, heavy, uncomfortable, true. Ethan didn't like that, not at all. People didn't speak to him like that, ever. He straightened his posture, returning to the familiar CEO mask. "And what exactly are you doing here?" he asked, coldly. The woman didn't flinch. She adjusted her child again, as if preparing for a long day already. "Same thing," she said quietly. "Trying to survive something I can't fix either." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Rain continued falling. Between grief and strangers, something unfamiliar began to form. Understanding. And neither of them realized it yet. This was the exact moment everything started to change. The wind grew stronger after that, not loud enough to drown thoughts, but enough to make silence feel heavier. Ethan Carter stood near the grave, still facing the woman who had interrupted his private moment with something dangerously simple: honesty. The single mother adjusted her child again. The little boy rested his head on her shoulder, half asleep, unaware of the tension between the two adults standing in the rain. Ethan's eyes briefly shifted to the child, then back to her. "You shouldn't be here," he said flatly. It wasn't anger, it was distance, protection, or maybe avoidance. The woman didn't argue. She simply nodded once. "I know." That response surprised him. Most people would apologize repeatedly or leave immediately, but she didn't move. Instead, she gently brushed water from her son's forehead. "My name is Claire," she said after a moment. "Claire Morgan." Ethan didn't respond with his name. He didn't need to. Everyone knew who he was. He was Ethan Carter, CEO of Carter Industries, one of the richest men in the country, a man people usually approached with rehearsed smiles and carefully chosen words. But Claire Morgan didn't look rehearsed. She looked tired, real tired, like life had already taken everything from her and was still asking for more. Ethan studied her quietly. "You said you come here," he finally said. "Why?" Claire hesitated. For the first time, her confidence cracked slightly. "I lost someone too," she said softly. The words hung in the air. Ethan didn't reply, but something inside him shifted, just slightly. Claire continued, voice low. "My husband died 2 years ago. Car accident." A pause. "And now it's just me and him." She gently placed a hand on her son's back. Ethan's gaze softened for a fraction of a second before tightening again. Grief stories were common, too common. Everyone had one, but that didn't mean they belonged in his world. "You shouldn't bring a child here," he said. Claire looked up at him. This time her voice was steadier. "He deserves to know where his father is," she replied, "even if it's just a stone." That answer hit differently, not dramatic, not emotional, just truth. Ethan looked away briefly, jaw tightening. The rain slid down his face, mixing with something he refused to name: memories. Isabella laughing in the kitchen. Isabella arguing about things that didn't matter until they did. Isabella saying she was tired that night. He shut it down immediately. Back to control. Back to business. Back to nothing. "I don't like people lingering here," he said coldly. Claire didn't move. "I wasn't planning to stay long." A pause. Then she added, almost gently, "But you look like you've been staying here too long." That landed harder than it should have. Ethan's eyes snapped back to her. "What did you say?" Claire didn't step back, didn't lower her gaze. She met his stare calmly. "You come here every week," she said. "Same time, same place, same look on your face." A breath, like you're waiting for her to answer you. The rain felt louder now. Ethan's voice dropped. "You don't know anything about me." Claire nodded slightly. "I don't." A beat, "But I know what it looks like when someone is drowning and refuses to move." Silence again, this one different, sharper. He should have told her to leave. He should have ended this conversation. But for some reason, he didn't. Instead, his gaze shifted briefly to the child again. Still sleeping, still safe, still unaware of how heavy the world could be. "What's his name?" Ethan asked suddenly. Claire blinked, surprised by the change. "Liam." Ethan nodded once. Then silence returned, but it wasn't empty anymore. It was shifting, like something unseen had stepped between grief and strangers and refused to leave. The rain finally slowed, but the tension didn't. Claire still stood there. So did Ethan. And something between them had changed, quietly, dangerously, without permission. Not trust, not friendship, something in between. Ethan glanced at his watch, a habit, a reflex, a reminder that his world was supposed to be controlled, scheduled, predictable. It wasn't. Not today. Claire adjusted Liam in her arms again, gently rocking him as the child shifted in sleep. "He's going to catch a cold," Ethan said suddenly. Claire looked at him. A small pause. Then, surprisingly, she smiled faintly. "I know. You should leave. I will." But she still didn't move. That made him exhale sharply. People always listened to him. They obeyed. They left. Claire Morgan didn't. And that unsettled him more than he wanted to admit. A gust of wind passed through the cemetery, shaking the wet trees. Claire looked down at the grave one last time, then spoke quietly. She was important to you. Ethan didn't respond, because if he did, he wouldn't stop. Claire continued anyway. I can tell, she said softly, not because of your money or your name, but because you still come here like she's waiting for you to finish a conversation. Ethan's jaw tightened. You talk too much, he said coldly. Claire nodded. Probably. A beat, but you don't talk enough. That hit differently, too directly, too accurately. Ethan stepped closer without realizing it. The distance between them narrowed. The air felt heavier. Claire didn't step back. She should have, but she didn't. Instead, she adjusted Liam and shifted her weight slightly. I should go, she said again, more firmly this time. This time, it felt real. But before she turned, Liam stirred. A small cough. Weak, tired. Claire immediately tightened her hold. Ethan noticed instantly. You should take him to a doctor, he said. I can't afford. She stopped herself, but it was too late. The truth slipped out. Ethan's expression changed slightly. Just a flicker. Claire looked away, embarrassed. I'll manage. Silence again. But now it was different. He wasn't just looking at her anymore. He was seeing her, really seeing her. Not a stranger, not a distraction, a woman carrying too much. Just like him. Ethan reached into his coat, pulled out a black card, gold lettering, simple, powerful. He extended it toward her. Claire stared at it, then at him. I don't need charity, she said immediately. His expression hardened. It's not charity. A pause. It's a hospital. Claire hesitated. For the first time, uncertainty broke her calm. I can't accept. You can, he interrupted. A beat, then softer. He's sick. That stopped her completely. Her eyes dropped to Liam again. The child coughed lightly in his sleep. Her grip tightened. Pain flickered across her face. Not pride, not ego, just fear. Ethan didn't move. He just held the card there, waiting, not forcing, not demanding, just offering. Finally, Claire reached out and took it. Her fingers brushed his for half a second, and something strange happened. Neither of them reacted, but both felt it. Claire lowered her gaze. Thank you, she said quietly. Ethan gave a small nod. That's not for me, he replied. A pause. Then, almost like he didn't mean to say it, just don't ignore it. Claire nodded again, this time more serious. I won't. She adjusted Liam again, preparing to leave. But before she turned away completely, she looked back at him one last time. You come here every week, she said softly. Ethan didn't respond. She continued, maybe one day, stop coming to talk to the dead. A pause. And start talking to the living. Then she turned and walked away, through the rain, through the gates, disappearing slowly into the gray distance with the child in her arms. Ethan stood still, watching. Long after she was gone, the grave behind him felt quieter now. Not because the rain stopped, but because something inside him had started to shift. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't sure which pain was louder anymore. The past he couldn't change, or the present he had just walked into. Ethan didn't leave the cemetery right away. He stayed, even after Claire disappeared into the rain, even after her words stopped echoing, even after the world around him returned to silence. Stop coming to talk to the dead and start talking to the living. Those words kept repeating in his mind like a wound that refused to close. He exhaled slowly, looking back at Isabella's grave. For the first time in a year, he didn't know what to say, because for the first time, he wasn't talking to her. He was thinking about someone else. Claire Morgan, a stranger, a single mother with tired eyes and a child in her arms. Ethan frowned slightly, annoyed at himself. This is ridiculous, he muttered, but even as he said it, he didn't move. The next morning, the city was loud again. Traffic, phones, meetings, money. Ethan Carter sat at the head of a glass conference table, listening to numbers that usually meant everything. But today, they didn't. Sir, the acquisition deal is ready for approval, one executive said. Ethan didn't respond immediately. His eyes were fixed on the document in front of him, but he wasn't reading it. He was thinking about a hospital card, about a coughing child, about a woman who refused to bow to his name. Finally, postpone it, he said. Silence. Every executive froze. Sir? One of them asked carefully. Ethan leaned back slightly. I said postpone it. No explanation, no discussion. That alone was enough. Because when Ethan Carter spoke like that, people didn't question. They obeyed. But something was different. Even they could feel it. Meanwhile, Claire stood outside a public hospital entrance, holding Liam's hand tightly. The hospital card felt heavy in her pocket, too expensive, too impossible, too far from her world. She almost didn't go in, almost turned away, but Liam coughed again, and that changed everything. Just check him, she whispered to herself. Just that. Inside, the hospital was clean, too expensive looking. Claire felt out of place immediately. People in suits walked past her. Doctors greeted patients like they mattered. Nurses moved with quiet confidence, and she clutched her son's hand tighter. A receptionist looked up. How can I help you? Claire hesitated, then slowly placed the black card on the desk. I was told to come here. The receptionist glanced at it, and everything changed instantly. Her expression shifted from neutral to shocked. This way, please. Claire blinked. What? Right away, ma'am. Suddenly, everything was fast, too fast. Doctors appeared. Doors opened. Liam was lifted gently into care, and Claire was guided through corridors she had never imagined entering. For the first time in years, she didn't feel invisible. At the same time, Carter Industries. Ethan stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of his office, city below, sky above, and silence inside him. Something felt off. He didn't know why, but he kept thinking about the hospital card, about whether she used it, about whether her child was okay. He frowned. Why do I care? He muttered. But the question had no answer. His assistant stepped in. Sir, your schedule. Cancel it, Ethan said immediately. The assistant froze. All of it? Ethan didn't turn. Yes. Pneumonin. Another pause. Where are you going, sir? Ethan finally looked away from the window. For a moment, he didn't answer. Then quietly, the hospital. Back at the hospital, Claire sat in the waiting area, hands shaking slightly. Doctors had taken Liam for tests. She had never seen so much care given so quickly. It felt unreal, too unreal. A door opened. A doctor stepped out. Claire stood immediately. Is he okay? The doctor smiled faintly. He will be. Her knees nearly gave out in relief, but before she could speak again, footsteps echoed behind her, slow, controlled, familiar in a way she didn't understand yet. She turned and froze. Ethan Carter stood at the end of the hallway, watching her, not as a billionaire, not as a CEO, but as a man who had come back for a reason he couldn't explain yet. Their eyes met, and the silence between them changed everything again.